Welcome back to Just One More Chapter with Emily. Yesterday we started The Interpreter by Brooke Robinson, a psychological thriller that follows Ravel Lee, a translator in London. She's a single woman who is trying to adopt a little boy named Elliot out of foster care. At the end of Chapter 1, where we left off last time, she had just gotten out of the courtroom and had left Elliot with a stranger. As soon as court let out, she went to where she had last seen them, and they were not there. This is Chapter 2 of The Interpreter. I find Elliot, but a man steps in front of me and clutches my elbow. "I noticed you in there," he says. "I heard everything you said." I recognize him from the newspapers and the magazine covers in Tesco. His eyes look faded, as if drawn onto his emaciated face with pale watercolor. He probably hasn't eaten anything solid since his partner was injured and he lost his unborn child. "I'm very sorry for your loss. I regret my choice of words. It's a stock phrase. He probably hears it 10 times a day. What else can I say? Really, I shouldn't be speaking to him at all." "It was dark." He's imitating the defendant's voice. "Perhaps I brushed against a parked car. Certainly not a person." His partner lost their baby, the ability to conceive again, and the permanent use of both of her legs. The life they had planned was gone in an instant. I think of the Georgian word for being pregnant, which translates into having two souls. There's a Polish phrase for pregnancy equivalent to "you are at hope" in English. Maybe they'll adopt. They might feel too broken after this. The process can be grueling, and adoption doesn't guarantee a happy ending. I am queasy with the thought of Elliot's whereabouts. "It isn't true, what you said in there." He's shaking his head. "You're a liar." Is he bilingual? My stomach flips. He's suggesting that I mistranslated some of the evidence. "Sir, I assure you I interpreted with complete accuracy." What word is he talking about? There was nothing particularly challenging about the testimony, nothing that could have been misconstrued. Other interpreters do a tidy-up. They leave out the background ahs, the hmms, a passive phrase that becomes active because it's easier. They're not a slave to the code of conduct. They don't see the point. But I never do this. I made one mistake, one solitary error in my entire career, and it will never happen again. The price is too high. His eyes pinball from me to the ceiling. The man in front of me is disoriented and needs help, but I must get to Elliot. I release my arm from his grip and spin on my heel. I need to find another security guard who will know where Arkham is. "Arkham," I call out. "Elliot!" The terror in my voice attracts attention. "Have you seen a 6-year-old boy? Blonde curly hair wearing a school uniform?" I say to everyone within earshot. "Elliot! You're a mother!" The alleged victim's husband reappears. "Do you work for child killers too?" "I work for the courts. I'm not with the defense today, I promise you." We Terps are often mistaken for members of the defense team, but I am freelance. I don't work for anyone. My assignments come through Exia Translation and Interpreting Services, which holds the current contract with the Ministry of Justice. If a pedophile needs an interpreter, do you help them? Say their lies for them and watch them get away with it? Their lies. He isn't challenging my translation. He's talking about the client. He's barely even looking at me now. He's angry and hurt and doesn't know what to do with it. I'm a good target precisely because he knows I'm not to blame, like the hedge fund manager who loses £1 million on one bad trade and screams at the guy who makes his sandwich. But I can't deal with this while I'm trying to find Elliot. I turn my back on him and call, "Elliot!" There, to the left of the exit, a staff member. I run toward another security guard. "Found him," a low voice behind me stops me in my tracks. "He's out there with your friends." Through the crowd, I see past the exit a blur of Elliot's backpack and then his face, cheerfully munching through a packet of chips. I turn to thank my helper and see that it's him again, the husband of the alleged victim. "Oh gosh, thank you," I say. Elliot is standing outside with 2 women, one of them crouching at his height, smiling as he chews. She dabs his mouth with a tissue, then straightens up in her dark navy suit. The defendant. Elliot is with the heiress, the hit-and-run driver. Now the bereaved father is watching this cozy scene, with that woman's hands on my son. "You're not on the side of the defense today, yeah?" the man is muttering to himself, but I know he means for me to hear. This isn't what it looks like. They're not my friends, I tell him. That's my son, but I don't know them. I'm impartial, sir, I assure you. It can be difficult for people to see us as neutral. In court, we sit knee to knee with the person we're interpreting for. We lean close and whisper into their ear. If the client is the defendant, we sit beside them in the dock. The two of us squashed together like co-conspirators, sealed off in the perspex box for everyone else's safety. You're corrupt, he's saying under his breath. You're all corrupt. His fists pummel his forehead until a woman, a friend or relative, drapes her arm over his shoulder. I don't think this man would hurt anyone deliberately, but he has the quality of little left to lose, and that makes him dangerous. I rush toward Elliot, and as I go, turn back to check he isn't following me. Elliot, where did you go? Where's Arkham? My anger towards the security guard cuts through my voice. I'm sorry, one of the women says. I knew the second we moved, court would come out and you'd be looking for us. She sounds breathless. Elliot needed the restroom. They won't let children in the court building, so I took him to a cafe. I hope you weren't very worried. My hand around Elliot's is slick with sweat, my heart not yet returned to normal pace. Arkham should not have let Elliot go off with a stranger under any circumstances. What was he thinking? I'm sorry I had to leave you, I tell Elliot, squeezing his hand tighter. I won't do it again. I'm Sandra, the woman says. I was speaking to the guard and Elliot while I was waiting for my boss. She looks toward the defendant, who has drifted a few yards away from us, now talking to her barrister and solicitors. A male solicitor in a blue shirt speaks rapidly to the heiress. From here, I can't make out what he's saying, but I can tell she isn't listening. Her eyes roam the outdoor space as though trapped in a tedious conversation at a party, scoping for someone better. I saw her on the telly last night, exiting the court tall and proud. Not the usual bashful defendants holding a jacket over their face to hide from the cameras. She's not embarrassed. It's there in her body language. No humility about the death and destruction she's caused. I think she's looking for the cameras. That's why she's loitering by the entrance. She's confident of an acquittal, and this case has made her famous. I'm Ravel, I say, realizing I haven't told this woman my name. Thank you for looking after him, Sandra. We kept each other company, didn't we? Sandra squats to Elliot's level and they exchange a smile. Yeah, Elliot agrees. I like that she hasn't commented on his appearance. So many strangers consider it appropriate to note the vast difference in our looks. It's so light, it's practically white, they say, fingering his hair. Don't worry, it'll darken like yours once he gets older. Or once, comparing us. His father must be practically albino. Maybe he is. If you ever want a babysitter for real, Sandra's voice breaks through my thoughts. I'm on Silver Balloon. Do you use it? The child-minding app? Sandra Ramos. Though I'm only free on Sundays because the rest of the week I work for... She dips her head towards the heiress. You work 7 days, I ask? That's why I'm in the UK, to work. And looking after lovely children isn't work, actually. Thanks for the tip about the app. As you can see, I don't have my child-minding sorted out. Elliot is holding a piece of paper up to my face. What's this? It's me, he says. Sandra drew it when we were waiting. It's a pencil sketch of Elliot. Sandra shrugs. I like to draw. It gets me off Facebook. I don't know much about art, but it's very good. You're really talented, I tell her. Elliot, you said thank you, yeah? Yeah. She's captured his big eyes and accentuated the thick waves of his hair. From the corner of my eye, I see the heiress approach us, and Sandra gestures for Elliot to tuck the picture down by his side. David Hockney strikes again, the heiress says, snickering at her own joke. Hockney was primarily a painter. Even I know this. If she's going to be mean, she could at least come up with a better reference. The heiress looks at me, and there is a beat before she says, You were our interpreter in there. Thank you. Our. I give a half smile and nod. Of course she thinks I work for her. Over the years, I've had many defendants strike up conversations as though I were a trusted confidant on the defense team. They've told me about their wife's job, their brother's stocks and share portfolio, asking my opinion about their mother's ailments. Once, a particularly chatty Spanish client loved discussing the problem with London transport. He was a town planner in a previous life, and one morning in the dock, I agreed the subway was bad that day and accidentally mentioned my stop. Then the accused double murderer knew roughly where I lived. I was relieved to see him convicted. Let's go, the heiress says to Sandra, clapping her hands together. Up close, I can see her hair is in an intricate braid, like a little girl's. It's impossible to do that kind of hairstyle on yourself. Did she make Sandra do it for her this morning? What type of work does she do for her? I wonder. Where's the car? Hello? Then she stalks away, and it is clear that Sandra is supposed to scurry after her. I raise my eyebrows in a gesture of solidarity. What a lovely boss you have there. I hope she loses this case, Sandra whispers, putting a finger to her lips. I've got to go. Bye, Elliot. Sandra is gone, and I promise myself that I will never leave Elliot out of my sight like that again. At home, we look for a place for Sandra's drawing. Elliot wants it in prime position, stuck to the door of his closet, the first thing he sees of a morning when he wakes up. He's obviously feeling better, and hopefully will be happy to go back to school tomorrow. His hand dives deep into the cookie jar, and now my tablet is pressed against his nose, playing cartoons. He is calm and focused, content to entertain himself, which I know can't be said of all children his age. I wonder how much of his personality is down to inherited genes. Is his self-containment a coping mechanism from his earlier years, survival by tuning out what's happening around you? I know there were substance abuse issues in the birth family before he was taken into care. I have a folder from our social worker, Lydia, with various forms and reports that tell the story of his background. I've read some of them. I'm aware of the major problems, but I stopped short of reading the details of every police visit, every troubling episode between his parents. I realize Elliot isn't coming to me as a blank slate, but if I know each detail of his family life and what he experienced, I'll treat him differently. I know I will. Like a tragic social services case to be fixed instead of a real child. My child. I don't want to watch him eat dinner and read trauma in his every gesture, obsess over which behaviors are manifestations of what prior experience. This is his second chance, so the folder is there in the locked bottom drawer of my desk, and I guess I'll decide how old he should be before I give it to him if he wants to read it for himself. Did Elliot mention to Sandra today that I'm not his real mother? He told a woman on the bus the other day who leaned across the aisle to compliment his NASA t-shirt. He does call me Mum. The first day he came to me, Lydia told me to expect it. Some adopted children take years to call their new parents Mom and Dad, and some never do at all. Elliot was famously quick to offer it up with all of his previous foster parents. It's an attachment thing. Of course I like hearing him say it. I wish the social worker hadn't told me he used it with everyone. How are you going there? Do you need anything? I ruffle Elliot's hair. He shakes his head no without raising his eyes from the screen. While Elliot is busy, I should do something useful like laundry, I decide. The adoption agency provides advice about the practical side of taking a child from the care system, but no one tells you how to do the very basics of parenting. Suddenly in charge of a 6-year-old, I am scrambling to catch up without experience or help. I look at the overflowing laundry basket and sort through Elliot's clothes. The first t-shirt has a band of grass stains down the bottom, his black trousers caked with splotches of mud. Normal mothers would know what to do with this, with baby and toddler years to draw upon. Hot water for these types of stains, cold for those. On my laptop, I search grass stain removal and open tab after tab. As I read, my eyes keep dropping down to my forearm, the red finger marks of the bereaved father in court, long faded, but I can still feel them, or imagine that I can. There is one visible scratch in the skin, but I think my own nails did that in the panic to find Elliot. I follow the advice of a mummy blogger from outside Toronto who claims to be an authority on mixing mimosas and all types of laundry. 1 part distilled white vinegar to 1 part water. Soak for 30 minutes, then rub and rinse. Repeat. Do I have any vinegar? How do I know if it's distilled? I think of how it would sting to dip some into the scratch mark on my arm. 3 months in, and I already almost lost Elliot. If I hadn't found him within the next couple of minutes, I would have gone to the police. They would have issued a special alert, and maybe they would have found Elliot within a few hours, but only to return him to the adoption agency to be given to someone else. I install the Silver Balloon app on my phone and find Sandra Ramos. This is what I'm looking for. Her childminder profile has dozens of glowing reviews. I'm somewhat reassured that my recklessness today in leaving him with the security guard wasn't as risky as it could have been. I place all of Elliot's clothes into the front loader and select the longest, hottest wash cycle. What must that bereaved man at court think of me? His unborn baby is tragically killed while here's me, an unfit mother with a healthy child I clearly don't deserve. It's unfair. He's convinced the whole thing is unfair. The trial that I was working for the callous heiress, but in that respect I did nothing wrong. He's right about one thing. I would interpret for a child killer, an accused pedophile, if required. Interpreters turn up to each booking often with no idea as to the content of the case. We might not even know who we're speaking for, victim or accused or witness or a member of the victim's shattered family. We can't walk out in the middle of a police interview or a court case because we decide we don't want to help our guilty client. We must swallow every reservation and keep going. If you find yourself disturbed, take your revulsion home and sort it out on your own time. I know that's how it needs to be. If I was ever on the other side of the justice system, I would expect pure professionalism from all involved. When the washing machine stops, one of Elliot's shirts emerges, shrunk to half its original size. The grass stains are as vivid as before. The next morning, London churns with news that the jury from the dangerous driving trial has retired to consider its verdict. On the walk to the hospital, I switch my phone from Radio 1 to Spotify. I want music only and no chance of hearing about the heiress and thinking about the bereaved father. St. Thomas's, a public hospital with a 5-star London review. I'm taking the stairs, gazing at Westminster Bridge and the twirling pods of the eye. After signing in, I write Ravel Lee on a visitor's name tag and head for cardiology. A Russian-speaking man is being treated for heart disease, and my own chest flutters as I approach the nurse's desk. Medical assignments aren't my preference. Once I had to tell a man that his wife was dying, and by the time I got the words out in Hindi, she was already gone. There's a sense with police and court work that justice might happen, the wrong might somehow be corrected, and the person at fault given their dues. With health, there's no one to blame. Who can you punish when the villain is your own body? In the ward, I'm presented to a man, clammy, his face leached of color. He's happy to see me, relieved to express in his first language just how rough he feels. The doctor in front of me thinks the Russian man's condition isn't serious. I repeat this for the client, and he raises his hands to the heavens in relief. In conversational Russian, the same word is used for the human arm and hand, potentially dangerous in some settings. I think of the British woman living in Italy who had an unnecessary mastectomy last year after her medical notes from Wales were mistranslated. A Spanish man in Scotland had the wrong kidney removed after the interpreter made a mistake on the medical consent form. The consultation with the cardiologist ends and I head home. I go grocery shopping on the way, and after the bags are unpacked in the kitchen, I make an appointment for Elliot to have his hair cut. When I collect him from school, he is full of stories about one teacher's broken tooth and another's fractured arm, and how the two must be connected in some funny way, and for the whole evening, I do not think about work. We have dinner and watch a game show, and after Elliot goes to bed, the TV is still on in the background while I check my emails. I have forgotten about the result of the hit-and-run trial. I am happy. Then the latest news comes on. And that was Chapter 2 of The Interpreter by Brooke Robinson. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you can hear more about what happens with Ravel and Elliot and the gang. Thanks for listening.